Diane and Ben, our administrator. With that, I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda and the previous committee meeting minutes of March 5th, 2026.
So moved.
Moved by Hummel,
I'll second.
second by Fluger. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Public comment on the agenda. I don't see any public here. Anybody public on
Nobody
the web? So that will be none. Chairman's comments. I do not have any comments at this time. Number 7, motion to approve the monthly bills, journal entries in previous month financial report.
So moved.
Moved by Fluger,
Second.
second by Hummel. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Hearing none, that passes. Number 8, discussion. Excuse me. Discussion of possible motion to pass a resolution 226, and there will be 05, authorizing the TID 2 borrowing from the Port Edwards Water Utility to complete Second Street project. Ben, well, I guess first of all, I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Ben, do you want to
Yep,
kind of let everybody know what's going on with that?
So putting back to this, I'll try to keep it short. When this, for the TIF, obviously the expenditures, we had to be 4 years in. The last 4 years, we had everything bonded, contract signed before it ended 4 years prior to that. So our TIF actually ends in 2029, but prior to that, we had to have everything documented. So last September, we voted to do this TIF project, and how we originally had it laid out, I'll take responsibilities. I had it in a 3-year phase, doing a little bit each year, because obviously with our TIF, every year we get so much from our TIF. And we didn't have the money to do the complete project until every year we're gonna do 200,000 each year, moving forward for the next 3 years. So we started last year, we did the first block. And as we were getting it, the pipe was the water line, the sewer line, and it was from the 60. So we knew that's why we did the project, but it's definitely it's got some issues, and I am afraid this winter we had a water main break up on the other end of Second Street, not down here. But I'm just afraid that if we don't finish it this year, we could put ourselves in issues. And again, a water main break could anywhere go to $5,000 to $10,000 that we'd be basically putting a patch on this line, knowing that we're doing it the following year, that we should just do it this year. So when the auditor was here this year and last year, both, we brought this up, Diane had a good conversation with them. And we're like, we have this project, we're gonna do it the next 2 years. I really didn't want to go to the bank and borrow money from the bank and deal with that part of it. So it was a kind of a thought that he brought to us, is, hey, your water utility has a reserve fund, basically, which we've always had that to make sure if a water tower, something major catastrophe goes wrong in our water system, we have this money, which we've always had, right between 800 to $1 million, give or take. Right now the balance is 845. So he's like, why wouldn't you go to the water utility, make a resolution, borrow the money from the water utility to finish this? Basically, plus you can charge a little bit of interest from the TIF. You know that the TIF every year is going to be bringing this money in the next 3 years, so it's guaranteed money, and you make a little bit and you get the project done, so that essentially if we have a water main break, the water utility would be the one eating the cost at any fixing the broken water line. So I'm here to bring you guys basically a resolution authorizing the village to finish this project in 2026, borrowing from the water department, with making two payments back to the water department in the next 2 years, with interest included in it. That way the water utility does get a little something back. Like I said, I did run this by the auditors. He had no issues, no concerns. And it's pretty cut and dry. There's no loopholes for this.
Any discussion or questions?
I do. First of all, that was a great
even I understood it.
Yep.
So thank you very
Yep.
much. What prompted, a resolution as opposed to a simple motion?
Basically, that was his recommendation from the auditors, was to make a resolution.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, that was what his recommendation, and I guess I go by his.
Yeah, I'm just
his
making,
things.
frankly, I'm making a point that resolutions do carry a fair amount of weight.
Yep.
You can't just ignore them.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, thank
Which
you.
that's, yeah, we know, we've got the other one out there at FHRs. We're still waiting for the auditors to come back on the, holdings per budget on the reserve funds. So
Yep.
hopefully in June we'll have that one.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Nick?
So with you drawing the reserve fund down slightly, do you still have enough in there to cover anything catastrophic
yeah,
during
man,
the
and
course of those payments?
yeah, but again, we just did a well rehab actually about a month ago. We did a rehab. So I don't see anything. The water tower, we did inspected last year, so there's nothing issue with the water tower. I feel the wells are good, so I really feel that we're in good.
Okay.
And obviously this money, when we did the water budget basically brings in revenue and expenses throughout the year. So basically, there is nothing of this 845,000 that right now is allocated or anything for this year, if that makes sense on the water. It's there for
Yep.
reserves. And again, I feel strongly that our wells are in good shape in the tower, that we wouldn't have any issues. And
And that was
hopefully I'm not coming back and saying that, but
Yeah,
I've looked at it and I feel that we're in good shape, and we're not drawing it all the way down. There's still money
Yeah.
left in there. So,
And that was my concern, is that typically reserve funds are for covering, worst case scenario, and I just want to make sure that everything was in good enough shape where you're confident that we're not going to be overdrawing the reserve fund should something catastrophic happen.
yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, we've done a good job, and in the last 2 or 3 years, we haven't had to we haven't gone to reserve fund, I guess, since I remember, and I don't know if Diane does, but I mean, we've been able to do
Mhm.
projects. We budget a rehab normally on the yearly budget, so.
Okay.
But eventually, we do have an older water tower and things that will come up, so.
Okay. Anything else? Thanks, Ben. With that, all in favor of, say aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Number 9, discussion and a possible motion to a resolution 226-06, authorizing resolution to commit matching funds. Certification of matching funds secured. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
And Ben, I guess, can you
Yep.
describe this for us?
So, we remember, we've been talking about the CDBG grant. We've been talking about for the last about 2 years, right? And this is all part of the Second Street next phase, starting here at the municipal building, heading up towards the village, whatever, high school. So the CDBG program application is due in May. How that works is, obviously it's a 90%, 10% match. The village has to have some investment in it for, the grant process. So at this point, in this 466.6667, we are about 90% done with the design work. I can be honest with you, before the board meeting next week, that 466 could go up or could go down every day we're constantly working on getting the final design of this road done. But basically, this is stating that the village went to a local bank and were able to get the funds. If we get awarded a grant, which the awarding goes out in July, if we get awarded the grant in July, that we could get the other matching funds for this project. Like I stated before, this will come back again. If we're awarded the grant, I'll bring it back to you guys with a full approval, basically accepting the grant, and then accepting the funds that we would need to get to do part of the grant, if that makes sense. So this isn't making a motion to accept the project. This is making a motion that we're able to get the funds if we would get the grant.
Okay.
Like I said, that'll be another motion once we would actually get awarded the grant. Now basically this being with the auditors and back and forth, there's a lot of moving parts on this project. There's a safe water and a dirty water grants our loans that would come out. To be honest with you, we would end up probably trying to borrow this from the dirty and the clean water, which is through this DNR. They have grants to rebuild roads and things. They normally run a 3% interest rate compared to the bank.
Okay.
But obviously, right now, we can't go to the DNR and ask for a loan because I don't know what the actual number is gonna be either. So this is from the local bank, basically letting us know, and this will come back. Back on the utilities. That's how the design of this whole project is gonna go, and hopefully we can make it go as basically the utilities will be paying that loan payment for this project. And that's part of when I would come back to you guys in a later date when we have the final whole project done and we know what kind of grant money we have and whatever the village has to owe. Obviously at that point, I'll be able to come back with exact numbers from what it is for the other half of the portion of the grants. And the intent of this project is that the utilities will pay, the water will pay for their portion of the water of that road, the sewer pays for that portion of it. Obviously you'd have curb and gutter and pavement that the streets would be paying for it, which would go back on basically the levy is how that would probably go on that portion. So it'll be three parts of this project. When we're all done, there'll be wastewater, water, and then you'd have your blacktop, your curb and your gutter and your sidewalks.
What's the matching, what's the percent matching?
90-10.
So we would be responsible for 10.
10, yes.
I'm sorry,
90-10. They would pay 90%, we'd pay 10.
so we really are talking about 10% of this amount?
No, we're talking the
this is
466. The whole project is over $1.5 million. So,
So this is the 10%?
yes, yep. So, I mean, it's a
Wow,
good, I mean, if we can get it, it's a good, definitely a,
oh, sure.
but again, until we get it, I don't want to say yes, or, I mean, we're applying for it, so.
I guess I get, so we need to have that authorization to continue with the grant process is what I'm taking at, because this is not approving it, it's just so the grant process can go along so that they would realize that in good faith that we would secure a loan somehow, but we're actually looking at, I mean, I like how you proposed it as the sewer, the water,
There's a lot of moving parts
Parts
to the project,
of
and
the
that's kind of what I've been explaining to you. I mean, we're applying, we got a lot of different grants we're applying for. This is just one of them. We got some LRP, we've got different things, so we're definitely, it's a $3.5 million project and we're trying to secure, hopefully $1.5 million to $2 million worth of grants, but again, everybody's battling it. So, yes, this basically resolution number goes on the application form stating that the village, passed this.
And this is a templated form, I'm guessing.
This came right from MSA, again, who was on the last meeting, if you guys remember, Jennifer was on, so this is from MSA. So she put this together, and we just went to the bank to make sure we'd get approval signatures.
You mentioned that, the cost of the project could change next week. Is this guaranteed, to the best of your knowledge, to be covering the 10%? Does it need to be moved around or?
As of Monday, we had a conversation, and this was the number we had. I will be honest with you, their engineers are on vacation, spring break with different schools, so one of their engineers who's on the project is on spring break and it's coming back Monday. And so there could be a little fluctuation. Obviously, we need to present the agenda to the board next week, Wednesday. So I need to have it for the packet, but I mean, you guys are passing this motion tonight at the 466. And if we have to, I'd have to bring it to you guys and we'd have to basically amend that motion at the board meeting if it would change. I don't know if we really talk about that tonight. I think we leave it at that leave it at the resolution. I mean, that's basically you're passing the resolution. If I have to change that, I would make sure that I'd make a note of that at the meeting on Wednesday.
Do you anticipate any other need to borrow money in the next 12 months that you know of?
No, I mean, I'm just like everybody else, right? The village of Port Edwards has never borrowed for road projects since I've been here over the 20-some years. So this is a whole new game, and that's why I did it in a 1-year strategy. I mean, I didn't try to just rush this through. I'm trying to educate and get the best we can so that we're not, but there's nothing that I anticipate. We put 400 accounts for the police car that's gonna get done next year. The village is putting money away for a dump truck. Obviously, next year we'd be discussing the fire truck, which is a 10-year loan. That loan payment would be up on the fire truck, and then we talk about getting there, but there's nothing that I believe at this point we'd be borrowing for unless some catastrophe happen, but
As of today?
yeah,
right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, that passes. 10, discussion on additions to the budget process. I think that we've talked a little bit about that, and Eric, at the last meeting, I did get your email, and I got a chance to read it. On how people can maybe put additions and input into the budget, and, I think it's a good idea. I think Ben did some research on it also. One of the things that I did see was that, I think that this would go through, Betsy, Diane and Ben, and go to the proper committee when people bring, whatever they want to see changes. But I think, one of the things I did read that Nick App said, our attorney had said that, if we would change some of the process, we would have to go to a public hearing, which, I just want to make that sure and clear. I think he made it kind of clear in the email that if we do change, some of, the processes, that we would have to go and have a public hearing for the whole village and et cetera. And I think we've done them in the past, but,
Question about that.
yeah.
The current one's in an ordinance. We have a public hearing to have it in the current one in the ordinance?
I don't know if is that in the ordinance, Ben?
Yep, the whole public hearing order.
Is it in
And
the
I
ordinance?
think
I think it's in
I
the
did
cap,
attach
yeah.
that to you guys. Yes.
Yeah, so I don't understand why you need a public hearing we're not changing the process, we're just adding an opportunity to it.
Right, and I'm just saying that if the opportunity would go to committees and the committees would forward it to go beyond that, I'm not saying to, get the,
Oh, I mean, it'd be part of the public.
Right.
Yeah, I totally get that.
okay, yeah,
It's still have to have the public meeting on the budget, right?
right,
Yeah, sure.
okay, yeah, but yeah, as far as, the additions, I think that's a good idea to have these three people involved and bring them to the proper committees and brought forth.
Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I did attach the note to, I think this, so I definitely would agree, that I think it's a good idea to have this, and I don't. If we stay in August or whatever, we put something on our website stating if people have any concerns or thoughts of the budget process moving forward to, email myself or Diane. That way we have records in the server, everything is recorded, and at that point, I would keep a running spreadsheet that I would share with, the village president, but then also take that and bring it to the FHR and the committee so that they would see. But I would recommend that we would send that to the village office, one of the employees, and not to board members. I think we should try to keep it in-house. That way everything is organized. It's in the server for open records. That way, if somebody would get missed or there'd be any issues, it would come back and I'll take the responsibility if I didn't. But that way everything is shared to everybody equally. So that was the only thing that I have. I think it's a good idea, but I think everything should be run through, this office so that we have documentation of it, and then we bring the sheets to the FHR. Something I'd have to add on that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Just to be clear, the reason I like that idea is it will prevent somebody next week coming to the board and saying, I want da, and then having no ability to kind of look at, well, we don't even know what the budget is next year. So and this is the same budgeting process we're using right now, and we're just looking at it and looking at puts and takes and making decisions at the same time that we always do. So it prevents odd requests during the year. Does anyone know what I'm
agree.
saying, Lon?
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, because it's, when people come to the meeting and I encourage the public to come to the meeting and bring up issues that they want to bring up, but it's when it seems like they come in, they're asking for things that I don't have the foresight to tell them until the budget process
Yeah.
begins.
Now
And
we
so
can
now this
say,
way we have
in
it, and it's
August-
documented, and we can say, hey, we have this, and we have time to discuss it and
Yeah.
bring it to
We're not
the
ignoring your
proper.
request. It's just right now, we're in a time period where we can't
do-
give an answer.
we can Yeah.
We
but
can
it's
move
good.
within, we can move within functions. We can
Right.
take from, one pot of money in PRC and move it to another pot. But as far as the big proposals and the big projects and things like that, at least now we're collecting them all. And when it comes to August, then we can be like, oh, well, we have, $317,000 worth of community proposals. Now let's evaluate these. I'm not saying that's gonna happen.
Where'd you
I'm
get
just-
that number from?
Oh, straight out my butt.
What was that number again, Nick? Tell me.
$2, Eric,
But at least then,
$2.
Ben, Diane and Betsy have at least the ability to come in and say like, we've received these proposals, we'll evaluate them all on their individual merits.
Or it's like this one will go to PLP, this one can go to public safety, whatever, but then it's up to that committee, cause I still want the committee to be able to be like, do you know what? We are not interested in looking at this.
Yeah.
And then you can just
Not feasible. no.
knock it and,
Yeah.
and
Or,
go.
or at least kind of come back and say, I recommend we have a discussion, a full
Right.
discussion about that.
Right.
Right, and then
But
I
then leave
guess
it up to
at
the
the
committees.
end, and I guess, seeing how things roll that way, then when it does come to budget time, we can say, yeah, we did look at that. We did talk about that, and these are the reasons why we are gonna do that, or these are the reasons why we're not gonna do it. And it probably is a little smoother process than
Yeah,
having
it sounds
somebody
fun.
come in and, okay,
It's
so,
an off stuff,
yeah.
yeah.
Is
So
the
we'll,
intent- Oh, I'm
oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
Is the intent then are we gonna develop a form or something, or is it just gonna be? Cause if you're proposing a project or, an allocation of any type, like, it would be nice to at least define, what's the benefit, what's the cost, what's,
Not
what
just say I
budgets?
want this.
Yeah.
because-
Hey, can we spend,
This is a
some,
great idea.
can we spend some money on this?
Yeah, I mean, I can draft something to basically that when we pose it, you'd have a request, a benefit to the, why does it benefit the village of Port Edwards? And, I can come up with I can look around, come up with 3 or 4 different, Parts of it, and
Estimated budget.
then I can bring it back to you guys here in the next month or two at the
So
FHR.
At the school, we have a thing for field trips, right? Like you have to explain what the activity is, how this supports their education and why it fits in your whatever. So it's a Google form, it goes to whoever to approve it. I think something like that would be, I mean, it doesn't have to be a super in-depth, I want 5 paragraphs, so why you want this, but just
At least a short description of
Right.
why,
Right.
I'd even go as far as maybe think about what's the return on the investment we think?
Yeah, when we come up with one, because we don't
Or
want
what's
just
the value
people to
of
email
this?
to random
You know what I
stuff.
mean?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it'd be as simple as that, just a form, then it can autofill into a
Yeah.
Google sheet. That way, you don't have to sit there plunking in every time, it just goes. And then you can highlight a different color, like, look, we took care of that, or we filtered that one out because that one's ridiculous.
We like the idea, but not at that cost.
Yeah.
Or we could look at other options and say, maybe
Right.
Yeah.
we could look at a grant option or do this to something.
And then you
Okay.
can
Yeah, okay, good discussion. And Ben, you're gonna get something like that, but
Yeah,
in
I'll
the
work
next
something.
couple,
help you with the
Yeah.
Google form if you, with them,
okay,
just steal schools.
number 11, old business. Anybody have any old business? Diane, anything?
Nope.
Old business, okay. New business. The new business.
So the only thing, I'll just kind of do a quick, general, obviously, we're just reached the first quarter of the budget for 2026. You guys were all handed the information from Diane your last day or two. I don't see any issues with department heads. I've spoke to both of, or department heads today or whatever. They seem to be on track. They don't know any, surprise expense, anything like that that's come up from each department. And I've overlooked everything. I don't, think we're right on, should be under 25% of the budget when you look at where we're at. Sometimes we buy different things for different departments early that maybe you don't need it, you buy it right away, so you don't need it the rest of the year. So there's some expenses that are up and down, but for the general, I looked, the whole budget process, I looked at, we're definitely in good shape. That's disappointed that early in the budget, but salt's winding down for the year, so we've made it through that one. Snow plowing, those accounts, obviously, we still carry over next year, but those are in good shape. We've been purchasing road paint and things like that, and I know the fire department's been purchasing safety gear. They've got the new squad and things like that, so we're getting all that stuff done. So as of right now, I don't see any big concerns about anything. I know we're gonna be doing the public works, be working on streets and roads projects here in the next couple weeks. I've gotten some budget numbers and I'm getting some estimates on different things. So as of right now, I don't see anything that I see any concerns about from the budget. Payroll wise, we're in good shape. I just want to kind of update you guys. I will do the Public Works Committee next. So we did put a summer help applications out. That we got 3 applications, one returning from last year, and this would be his third year. So he would be, we adjusted that rate a little bit, so he'd be at the top rate. The other 2 that are interviewed would be their first year. So I'm actually still working through, but basically in simple terms, the 2 that I interviewed, one is graduating from mid-state and is hoping to get a full-time job. So he could start with me, and then all of a sudden he could end up leaving. The second one I believe is a great candidate. So I'll be honest with you, I'm looking at it's about a $5,000 difference compared to hiring 2 to 3, because these both new would be on the bottoms because this would be their first year. And so me and Diane have looked over the budget. I don't see any issues. Going to do a couple more double checks, but not a lot of overtime for plowing, things like that. So there's, built in, basically, obviously their payment comes out of the Public Works. We did the budget, each parks and cemetery, everybody's got their own wages that we estimate so much time per year. I'm really thinking that we're going to end up hiring 2 to 3 this year. And again, it's a $5,000 difference, but I'm not 100% sure if I let one go, I might lose it. And we've never had this in the last 3 years. We're lucky to get one person, so it's a benefit. We've got some parks projects, we've got some things, legacy things that need to get finished up. So I definitely think there's justification to getting the extra one this year. And again, it's not a big financial deal because again, you're hiring 2 people starting at the bottom. If all of a sudden there were 3 returning, I wouldn't be coming here because it would be a different change. But since you're basically putting 2 people on the bottom, I think it's the right thing to do unless you guys have any concerns or thoughts on it. But again, it's $5,000 difference, and one could work a month, and that's counting every hour from Labor Day to Memorial Day. And I'll be 100% honest with you, I haven't had a summer help employee that works every day from Memorial Day to Labor Day. I mean, vacations, family. I mean, they're 18-year-old kids. They're going to go on family vacations, and they're going to miss a week here and have college stuff here. So when it comes down to it, I use the worst numbers, but again, I don't think it's an issue. So, anybody have any thoughts or comments on that at all?
I
Go
think,
for it.
yeah, I say go for it.
If your budget can hold it.
So
Yeah.
So I'll keep you guys updated, but that's I think the process that we'll talk about that in Public Works too, and I'll bring underneath the administrative report by next week. I'll have a complete summary of that. Not a summary, but just it's a $5,000 difference, but no issues.
Okay.
So,
On a side note, can I add another piece?
Sure.
It's kind of ancillary. If any of you all know a person, probably a retired person, that wants to supervise the harvesting of cut plants on Nipco Lake this year, I'd be very interested in talking to them. We lost our supervisor that we weren't paying anything for, so we are now going to have to pay somebody to do it. And we've interviewed a couple people that thought they were interested, and then when they looked at the job, they thought it was a little bit more than what they were willing to do. But if you know anybody, typically it's a retired person who looking for some summer job, get to be out on the lake every day or 4 days a week, same time frame from Labor Day, and it's Monday through Thursday. So if you hear of anybody or know of anybody, let me know.
absolutely.
Okay. Any correspondence received?
I did not receive anything.
I did not. I'm saying. Agenda items for next meeting, I guess, you have time to get that form or you need a couple meetings?
I'll start working on it. Yeah,
Okay,
at least getting some things going. Yep.
otherwise I don't see anything unless anybody else has anything for agenda items for next meeting. I'm sure something will probably come up, so.
It does.
Okay, without objection, I will call the end of the meeting at 4:29 because
Just the
Public
time.
Works a time to get
And then
into.
27 seconds there.
Beggars.
Okay, thank you, everyone.